All right, thanks first and foremost for everyone coming out on this very cold night. I myself debated it. I walked out and I said, do I really have to go down to this thing? No, I definitely want to meet everybody here. And my name is William Huckelrath. I am at Chainlink. This is actually fun for me because I spend most of my time working with traditional companies, large enterprises, some of the capital markets teams, at the big banks, which has been an interesting conversation over the last couple of weeks. That's my role at Chainlink. So I actually don't get to hear about some of the cooler stories that go on, and this is going to be a great opportunity for me to learn a little bit about one of our new partners here and some of the work we've been doing with these folks. So I'm going to be actually, just like you, very eager. I'm going to try to ask some poignant questions because I myself would like to learn a little bit more about how this all works. It would be great if we could fill in these. I know you guys like to stand. The beer's back there. I get that. But maybe we can fill in a couple of these chairs. It looks good in the photos. It makes us all comfortable. I'm not staring at these white chairs here. So it'd be great if you come around. This is going to be pretty relaxed. It's a cold night. There's New York City. There's beer and everything. So we're going to probably go off script a few times. But we're going to try to be entertaining and interesting. We're going to learn a little bit about JPEGs, which is obviously something that we want to talk about tonight. And we're going to get started. I've got two great guests. We've got Joe from the JPEG side of things, Cryptex side of things, and Armand from Coinbase Cloud. And first and foremost, I'm just going to let them introduce themselves and tell their story.
Yeah, so my name is Joe Sticco. I'm a co-founder and co-contributor for Cryptex Finance, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. Before I get into Cryptex and chat a little bit about it, I just wanted to take a moment. We're fully all aware of the calamity that is ensuing right now with FTX and with the world. And sadly, like, these things happen before this event. And at first I was kind of thinking about it like, wow, this is crazy. Like, now we're in the midst of this wild situation and I have to go to an event and like speak about building and doing all these different things, and how are people going to feel? And I thought about that and I said to myself, like, well, it's the best time in the world, because this is the time where decentralized protocols that are operating in a fully transparent, on-chain manner have the opportunity to come and to speak to people. So with that, we started Cryptex we launched in April of 2021. We build decentralized index solutions. Our development was, our system was designed by a fellow co-founder, Preston Van Loon, who is a core Ethereum developer, as well as the co-founder of Prismatic Labs, which was recently acquired by Chainlink Labs. So Preston designed our system for our first launch, which was TCAP, a total crypto market cap token that functions using Chainlink oracles to bring on-chain data to a vault system. The vault system is then over-collateralized by ETH, DAI, USDC, or wrapped Bitcoin to create a synthetic asset TCAP, which then tracks the total crypto market cap. So we're doing fully decentralized index tokens, and really excited to chat with you more about what we're doing tonight with JPEGs.
Excellent. Thank you. We've also got Armand here from Coinbase Cloud, and looking forward to hearing a little bit more about your story as well.
Cool. I'm not sure if I can match that intro, Joe. But
sorry, man.
Armand Khatri. I'm at Coinbase Cloud, actually more recently working on the Coinbase team for DeFi partnerships. On the cloud side, I was working on DeFi, broader Web3, and some of the Web2 partnerships. You may have saw our announcement with Google Cloud. That was something that I had an opportunity to work on briefly, but looking forward to sharing a little bit more about cloud, perhaps answering some questions, because it's not necessarily the part of Coinbase that people are most familiar with. I'm sure you're more familiar with the retail app or the app that's maybe on your phones right now. But happy to get into that, go a little deeper, and talk a little bit about why we're all here on stage.
That's great. So let's talk about your first project first before we go to JPEGs. I think it's good context, particularly for the concept of decentralization, the importance potentially of what's the purpose of that index, why does it need to work on decentralized infrastructure, why is decentralization important to? Let's spend at least 5 minutes kind of talking about that first idea, walking through the first plan, because I think that tells the rest of the story for where you go from there.
Yeah, so we designed TCAP. Total crypto market cap is one of the most widely quoted metrics, in the world, next to the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum. People are always using, the total market cap to measure the growth or the expansion of the sector. So we kind of wanted to come up with a solution where you had the ability to track that, where any user can go to a vault and mint, TCAP. So to be clear, like Cryptex doesn't sell tokens. We don't sell TCAP. We don't sell our governance token, CTX. Like we can get into that later. But it became, how do you design a system that can have this type of functionality? And for us, we found that there were many providers where you can get on-chain data and you can kind of aggregate that data to create an index. So if total crypto market cap is $1 trillion, you could essentially say, okay, we're going to divide this by 10 billion, and now we have a token price of X. And then that token price, the nominal asset, moves in lockstep to the total crypto market cap. It's over-collateralized in a vault where users deposit 150% so that the system is always sound and over-collateralized. There are no loans. There are no, the ability for people to borrow it. Like you have to over-collateralize to mint them. And then once you mint the tokens, they're tracking the total index. So the vault system wasn't really the difficult part. It was the oracles and working with Chainlink to get the data and bring that data on chain through a network of decentralized validators and always verifying total crypto market cap in real time. So once we made that connection with the Chainlink team, we were able to get this data over. We launched in April of 2021. It's still pretty small in terms of relative size to other things. We've seen about $120 million of mints and burns since the creation of the system. And we continue building every day. Like now we're getting into things where we're making interoperable TCAP, where it's accessible on multi-chain. We're continuing to grow the DAO and the system, and that's kind of like how we got our start with building TCAP.
So, are the volumes spiking at the moment? I mean, when this kind of thing happens, does that impact the flow with which people come in and out of these instruments?
Well, that's kind of what we think is going to happen more and more, right? Like we think now that you've had this situation where these centralized exchanges have kind of, no disrespect to Coinbase, obviously, but certain decentralized exchanges have kind of put themselves in a position where it's very clear that these are black box organizations, right? Like the money's going in, and there's no real way to track what happens once it's in there because it's not fully auditable or accessible on chain. So we think that over the next couple of months and years, you're going to see a situation where now users are aware of this, and they're no longer going to have to be trying to trust cults. They're going to be verifying code. And that should be the shift that we see, is that I don't want anybody here to look at me and trust me. That's not the point of what we're trying to accomplish here. I want anybody here to be aware of what Cryptex is doing and then go verify the code yourselves. And that should be where we go as an industry, where DeFi wins, not just holding coins on a centralized exchange.
But you seem so trustworthy.
I don't want to be trustworthy. That's not.
That's fair enough.
I want you to verify like what we're doing. I want you guys, everybody should be able to verify it at all times and then use your own judgment based on what you verify, whether that's on-chain audits, whether that's on-chain transactions through a treasury or a multi-sig. Like verify yourselves and use that information to make a decision, not what somebody tells you to just go and do, or a celebrity or whoever it may be. Like verify for yourselves.
Awesome. So you mentioned in that speech a little bit about decentralized validators, the importance of decentralized validators. Let's segue a little bit then into what the decentralized infrastructure looks like, the hardware, the rest of it, which kind of I think is a question for Coinbase Cloud. Also, we'll give you a little chance to kind of talk about the difference between the different business lines and where you guys come into the picture.
Totally, thank you for that. So is anybody here actually actively building in Web3 or familiar with Web3 infrastructure stacks at all? See, okay, thank you for being honest. There's a few of us out here. So I think that the best place to start is to just better understand what Coinbase Cloud is and isn't. So Coinbase is obviously a place for us as individuals and perhaps institutions to buy, sell, and hold or vault our crypto holdings, right? But Coinbase Cloud is much more akin to like a Web 2 equivalent would be like AWS, right? Cloud is going to be the infrastructure layer in which we're definitely serving the builders in the space, the developers in the space. It's less about us as individuals. So a builder can be an individual who's just toying around with code, trying to make the next big dApp or protocol. And cloud is here in order to help folks do that much more easily. So I'd say that the cloud services really fall into like a few key components, nodes, which some of you may be or may not be familiar with, and I'm happy to touch on that later after we chat, as well as like staking infrastructure. So you probably are familiar with staking, real staking where you actually are supporting a protocol. And last but not least, APIs. And I think that's really what draws this conversation together, is the full suite of cloud APIs. So there's the easy things, which they're very difficult to do, but I say they're easy because they're easy to understand, like Coinbase Pay, which is just simply a fiat on-ramp, quickly convert cash into crypto. And then there's the more interesting and perhaps like exotic things like an NFT index API. And through what we've done on our NFT indexers, basically keeping track of NFTs that are floating around on different chains, et cetera, we were able to develop a floor price algorithm. So this is essentially a formula that we're going to be working closely, and we are working closely with Chainlink to expose the methodology of, where we could be a little bit more helpful to folks who are building on NFT by providing a new primitive. And that is a primitive that unlocks NFTfi. So we've all heard about DeFi, right? The moving of tokens and using them as assets. But NFTfi, think about how much money is locked in things like CryptoPunks or Bored Apes or Nouns, right? There's a lot of value in there. We all have seen the prices hitting headlines, especially a few months ago. Maybe now prices are a little bit lower, but there's so much money in there. But when you have an NFT, you really only have a few options. You could hold it or you could sell it. But until there's more infrastructure like what we're creating here, now you could actually think about other use cases. Like perhaps you want to collateralize your NFT for a loan, and that's not something that we're necessarily doing at Coinbase, but we're creating these APIs so that people could iterate on them and we could find more interesting use cases for the broader Web3 community. So that is cloud in a nutshell, and that's the reason why I'm here on stage with these two gentlemen talking about JPEGs.
How much liquidity is there? I'm just thinking about how you are going to, what kind of inputs do you need to make that calculation? It seems to me that there could be, is there enough data to make the calculation in some cases, or how do you solve for problems like that? And I apologize, I did not prep you in advance for this question, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, is like, surely some of these things are not particularly liquid.
No, I think that's a great question. So, when we think about our floor price algorithm, right now we're limiting it to the top 10 collections. So automatically, if you just look at the top 10 collections, you're already talking about almost the majority of actual total value locked, right? So just think about the top 10 collections in your head, like Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, like CryptoPunks, like World of Women, quite a few others are in that top 10 set. And if you just...
Mine will be 11th, I'm just behind. I'm working on it, we're almost done.
So if you just focus there, that's actually helping our engineers and our data team build an algorithm that they could then back test through historical situations and environments, despite fluctuating prices. And then from there, we could think about how we expand to the next 40, the next 90, the next 990 collections that are out there.
Excellent. So then how does that loop into you when we start talking about indexes?
Yeah, so when we first heard about this, Chainlink and Coinbase Cloud working together, we immediately kind of jumped on the opportunity to be a part of it in terms of how we're going to use that data to power JPEGz, which is going to be an NFT market cap index token. So basically, Coinbase coming in as an NFT aggregator, we know that there's an abundance of data. And that data, whether it's Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, Mutant Apes, we hope to have many more collections inside of the methodology of the index, but all that floor price data can now be sent to Chainlink and verified authentic on chain. It could be given a heartbeat of, say, 1%. So now that index is moving in real time to the floor prices of all of the underlying collections. Once that's done, we then can tell, okay, the floor prices of all of these collections cumulatively are worth, let's say, for argument's sake, $1 billion. And that data is moving in real time. And now let's say we put a divisor of, 1 billion to that. So now you have a JPEGs token that users can mint in an over-collateralized vault system for $1. And now they can track every single underlying NFT inside of that subset of data without holding any of it. They're simply tracking the data. So they're not holding Bored Apes, they're not holding Mutant Apes, but they're holding the data that they can then track through the index token. And that's kind of why, like, the partnership between these two, in creating this, these data feeds, it really just made a ton of sense, for us to try to get in where this could be powering what we're building.
So I'm just, that's great. First of all, congratulations. That's a fantastic accomplishment, and the algorithm itself is a great add to the industry. So thank you both for the work there. I don't have to pump my own Chainlink because you guys do it for us, which is fantastic. It's the best thing to do. You just go to things and people say nice things about you. So one of the cool things, I'm kind of a traditional investor as well. I've been in the DAO or whatever for more years than I want to admit with this particular crowd. Is that the index is refreshing all the time. So there's one of the secret sauces, I think, of the DAO is that it's not the same 30 companies that it was 100 years ago, because a lot of those are actually bankrupt. It just keeps bringing in the newer things, and as long as I stay with the index, I'm kind of by definition involved in some of the more exciting things. So to what extent, it sounds like you're going to be bringing more collections in over time. Does that indexization, that must be something that you guys are, some sort of algorithm you guys are deciding how to incorporate that over time as well.
Right. Well, the index, if you look at total market cap that Chainlink, has, it's a dynamic feed. So the feed always is growing, based on the different crypto digital assets that are being added to it. And for us, we're not, unlike other competitors or other people, like, we're not in market cap is weighted by market cap. We're not trying to have a board that's deciding for a group of users, like, what is and what should not be acceptable. We're here to create things that are powered by data. We're not here to say, like, what is good or what is bad. As long as the data is verified on chain, we know it's legit, and we can build from there. Where this is going to go is these feeds will also have a dynamic ability to them, where the data can be added over time, and that's kind of like really exciting, because like you said, like, there's going to be collections that we don't even know about today. There's going to be developments in NFTs that are just a thought today, and eventually you'll see these come into the index and just provide users with the ability to track it.
So that's another question that I didn't prep for. So is this art specific? So NFTs could be lots of stuff, right? I mean, NFTs could be people, we have big brands generating NFTs for their watches and whatever else, and gift cards and God knows what. So is this specific to, I guess, JPEGs? Is that hence the name? Is this specific to artwork, specific to collections of JPEGs themselves, or is there going to be a new one if you go into other areas? Or
I would ideally like to see JPEGs be like TCAP and grow to represent the entire market cap of all NFTs. Now, if that is not possible at a given time, then we can start JPEGs with just strictly art NFTs, and then as the indexes grow and data becomes more verifiable on chain, we could expand to different subsectors, just like you would with an index, where you would have total market cap, but then you might have blue chips, or you might have different subsets, energy, technology. Like, you might have the same kind of functionality with NFT data, and you could build out a subset of indexes that are essentially achieving that task.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because right now, if you look at the top 10 collections, you're looking at PFP projects, right? You know, these are things that people are using on Twitter as their profiles, et cetera. That's essentially what you're seeing. But if we fast forward, I don't know, a year from now, 20 years from now, who knows, right? There's probably going to be other use cases where perhaps, you know, top collections are representative of gaming or music or something else that we're not quite seeing as much on-chain interaction with at this moment, but we see that teams are building for these use cases already. So I get really excited when I think about, you know, where is the attention going to go as the industry matures and we're able to, as Joe put it, you know, not only trust but also verify that these up-and-coming collections, you know, could then become the incumbents later down the road.
All right, that's good stuff. So that's kind of, I think, JPEGs in a, well, I understand it better now, and I came in with very little knowledge, so thank you very much. I get it. It's effectively an index that's helping me track where the NFT price is, effectively, with the floor in particular, where the floor price is, and if NFTs are going to make another rise up, and these floor prices are going to raise, then so will the token in turn, and that's all algorithmically, you know, programmed in advance, and I can get involved the same way that I get involved with TCAP. How do I get involved in TCAP?
So on you know, Cryptex.finance, you can mint TCAP. Again, like Cryptex doesn't sell, you know, assets, like especially for total market cap or even JPEGs. Like we just felt that it was a disservice, and to just come out and say like, oh, we're gonna make the total market cap token and you could just buy it off of us. Like that's not what we're trying to do. So you can mint them through the Cryptex portal. There's liquidity on Uniswap v3. You know, the governance token is accessible, you know, all over the world on different exchanges. So to get involved and take a look at what we're working on, it would be Cryptex.finance.
Okay. So we have a few minutes left, and I actually think there is a reality that you brought up. I think we're all here under a little bit of a cloud, not that cloud, a different cloud, a darker cloud. Here's a very bright cloud, Armand, fantastically bright cloud.
Good cloud.
Why don't we just spend a few minutes talking about where we think we are? I mean, let's be honest. Where we are as an industry, how does this affect us? How does this affect NFTs? How does this affect some of the fun stuff? How does this affect your client base? I'll start with you, Armand. How does this, is demand through the roof now? Are you getting more developers coming to you guys than ever? Do you have more building going on than ever? You guys incredibly bullish about what this kind of market brings? You know, how do you guys see the world right now?
Yeah, I don't know if I could say anything that Brian Armstrong hasn't already said in market in terms of broadly speaking about like what's going on right now and why I feel like as individuals we should all feel like we could still not just trust but also verify the financial audits that Coinbase has to go through every quarter as a publicly, you know, regulated company in the United States. But I will say that, you know, even if you are skeptical of a centralized exchange at this moment and you feel like your funds would be safer on a hardware wallet or in a self-custody wallet, then Coinbase has a self-custody wallet that is incredibly reliable, and that's what I use when I interact with DeFi, and that's what I use to, you know, cold storage some of my NFTs, et cetera. You know, you could use it with your ledger, you could use it with your mobile app or a Chrome extension. So, you know, there are offerings for everyone, and I do think that an important thing that we can all learn at this time, and one of the things that I work on day to day in doing partnerships with DeFi is teaching folks who are used to operating on a custodial centralized exchange, teaching them how to interact with the broader Web3 and letting folks, you know, dip their toe in the water in more of a safe space. And I really love how many sort of educational platforms have popped up, allowing people to, you know, try out different things and interact with other protocols and dApps that exist. But yeah, I mean, hardware wallet sales are through the roof from what I understand. So I think a lot of folks are thinking about security in a different way. And I don't think it just, you know, starts and stops with crypto, but it's just a mindset that the industry was built on trust but verify, and hopefully more folks can learn how to do the verification, or at least hold the companies that they do interact with to higher standards, because then we'll be able to avoid calamities like this in the future.
That's great, thanks. So we know what you're building throughout the winter. You're going to be building JPEGs. I actually don't know the time frame on that. I'd be curious to see, first of all, what that is, and then what's the next thing afterwards?
Yeah, so JPEGs, we're targeting end of Q4, early Q1. So probably, early January, you'll see JPEGs go live. And we're really excited about layer 2 networks. So we're going to be launching JPEGs specifically on Arbitrum to start, as that will be, the best environment for, fast execution and lowest cost to the users who are looking to mint it. But our DAO is functioning. Like, we have many core contributors, we have many community members that are always building and doing different things. So we're excited about the future. And to just kind of elaborate a little bit more, to me, this has always been an ecosystem of people, and unfortunately, we learned that people have malicious intentions, and to me, that shouldn't be representative of the ecosystem. That should be representative of those people. And I think that this creates a demand, it just shows the need for decentralized finance and the need for DeFi to be out here and doing everything, where you could verify on chain. And I think that that's a trend that you kind of see continue now, especially given the recent events that have happened. It's sad, because as an industry, I'm fortunate enough where I have the opportunity to work with so many wonderful people every single day, people that are really trying to build and change the future for the world. And it's sad that you have an actor or whoever come along and this is what happens, because to me, it doesn't represent the people, it just represents a person. And I think the ecosystem will thrive. And I'm thankful that I get to be contributing to making that happen every day.
I have an action anecdote. I was at I think it was permissionless or something, and one of the big banks was talking to me about their build out. They're building out a bunch of stuff, and we were trying to figure out how much, if this Chainlink could somehow help them with some of the work they were trying to do for, was it their custody solution or something along those lines. And they said, now that I just occurred to me this story, they said, do you know that FTX only has like 20 developers? I don't understand how they could possibly build all that with only 20 developers. And we were all just thinking, yeah, it's really impressive. now it's very clear why that was possible.
You know why.
Anyhow, well, I will say that what happens, just from my personal experience and I was involved in the .com crash in 2001, and I've seen all of them all the way through. And I will say that one of the great things that comes out of these things is you get people looking for jobs, great talented people who might have just ended up at the wrong project. It's not their fault, they ended up at the wrong project. And this is actually a great time to, I think, probably source some new talent, particularly get these new things going. So I think, I was just kind of looking at the way this is set up. I know you guys have a lot of questions. I don't think this room is really set up well for Q&A. So I think what we should do is, we're a small enough group. We still have some pizza and beer back there, I think. I think it makes more sense, actually, just to kind of just get together and talk. So I think we're gonna, if that's okay, I think we're gonna move that direction, particularly about people who, get your questions out, come up to us, we'll be accessible. And unless there was any final quotes, I mean, we have about 2 minutes left, if there's something else you guys want to throw out there.
All good for me. I'm excited to meet a few of you back here and chat further if you want to.
Yes, Sam, and I think that we had a video for JPEGs. I don't know if
Oh, please! I'm so sorry. I didn't. No one prompt. Yeah. No one.
Our DAO likes to create.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are you going to narrate as we go?
No.
Are you going to sing?
I'm not going to sing. You want to sing?
I do not want to sing.
I don't think he felt anything after the crash.
All right, congratulations. This is good stuff. Anyhow, thank you again. We're huge, obviously, believers in decentralization, huge believers in what you guys are doing. Thank you for bringing this data to market, Armand. I think it's a fantastic start, and thanks for turning it into something that we can all interact with.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
just create like little circles if people want to like ask questions in circle format, but I do think that's the best way to move forward from here, and we look forward to meeting you all more closely.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.